There's nothing. Raptured here. Here we have Mars. Here we have Mars. Marsley, here we have Mars. Here we have Mars. 65th class. Final stretch. X72 University. Classes. There will be 4 classes in one, right? About minorities. You have to learn to respect people, understand people. And, if you are one of them, the worldview. Right. About this. Because God created people with disabilities. Our love for the Gypsies. Gypsy. Was Bob Marley an ex? Rastafarian? Dreads? Lifestyles. Here, I won't talk, but include in this class autism, as you mentioned, other similar groups. Include in this class people who take medication. Also include in this class hippies. And other styles, punks. And the like. Idolatry or love for animals is at the end. And it's linked, but what's the connection? The whole connection. Starting with why God created people with disabilities. Talking about people with disabilities. You know it's redundant, because P already stands for people, but I'll put it this way for you to understand. Person with a disability. Did you know that in Ghana, Africa, Muslims leave disabled children in isolated places because they believe they have diseases? Spiritual diseases? Isn't it sad? This also happens in Nigeria and other countries. A pastor was in the news. He adopted a girl with a disability. The entire church applauded. Then they found out he had been sexually abusing her for many years. In fact, I think that's why he chose the girl. Being a person with a disability, already with those intentions. But the BBC report reveals that in these African communities that mystify people with disabilities, there are many reports of abuse by members of the community itself. I mean, the very community that demonizes is the same community that takes advantage, sometimes sexually. Crazy, isn't it? What is human hypocrisy? Many Shia Muslim leaders, for example, in Iraq, in turn, take the lives of babies with disabilities and have even created a dogma based on the Quran to have the right to kill disabled children. Look at that. These are the Shia, not the Sunnis. Let's be fair. That's why the Shia are being destroyed. Some indigenous tribes also take the lives of children born with disabilities because they believe the gods have given a sign that the person needs to be eliminated. According to the WHO, 80% of children with Down syndrome are aborted. Where is the love? Where is the love that people claim to have? You know, today it's all about I don't want it. I don't believe in love anymore. They're all philophobic. I don't believe in love. I don't believe in men. I don't believe in women. I don't believe in anything anymore. But a child, I want to have one. The dream of my life is to be a mother. So, what am I going to do, since I don't believe in love? I just have a fake relationship one day, just for a while, just to have the child and then live with this child alone, thinking that this is love for the child. In reality, it's all ego, because, in truth, she wants a little robot that she can indoctrinate. Because if you deal with people from the outside world, you can't indoctrinate them, right? You will interact with different people. Here, for example, I will interact here with Antonio, with Josera, with Ivanite. I will have some difficulty. I will have to tolerate them, understand them, and they will have to tolerate me. Now, if I have a child, I teach them whatever I want. And if they don't learn, I discipline them until they do. But these mothers forget that these little babies will become teenagers. And, at 16, they will choose their own path. And even if, at 16, at 15, at 18, they choose to be servants to their mother, to give up their own freedom of choice and live the dreams of their mother or father, even then, that is not love. Because what I have always taught you all, a hard truth, is it hard or not, right? Many people even hang up. Some people won't even finish the University of EXO and listen to this, but it's the truth. You can lose sleep, you can block me, it's the truth. Block after listening, because one day you'll come back. Block after listening, because one day you'll come back. The truth is, a mother's love is beautiful, but it's compulsory. It's organic, it's instinctive, it's within her, it's hormonal, it's chemical. It's beautiful, it's God's love, it's beautiful, yes, very beautiful. But, generally, a mother's love is not fair. Because, look, just without reason, she looks so emotionally that she only sees the rights of her children. I have to take this picture. I don't know if the person who watches this class in the future won't understand anything because a second of it is missing. So, good people of God, we have to understand, as difficult as it may be, that being a mother is beautiful, offspring are beautiful, being a father, whoever wants to be, should be of one child, only, ideally not, I always advise against it, but if you want to fulfill the dream of your life, do it when the relationship is completely healthy. And what I always taught you, slow sperms, unhealthy after 30, 35, 40 years. It's not ideal for you to have children after 30, 35, 40 years. This is what's producing people with some kind of disability, sometimes psychological, mental, physical anomaly. Folks, this is very serious. I am speaking very seriously with you. Today everything is upside down, so you will manage to make money in life after 30 years old. I just mentioned here at school, a man is reaching $500,000, a million at 35, 40, 45 years old. When he finally gets to have the things in life, he's almost having an aneurysm, heart attack, falling hair. I mean, it's very sad, even if you become a Roberto Julio of life, living healthily at 70, looking like a young man. But even so, you have to understand that from the age of 30, you no longer have the health to have children. You're outside of God's biological project. So, when do most people achieve financial independence? At 30 years old. By then, the marriage has already been going on for 10 years, 5 years. Shall we have a child? We've been married for 10 years. Shall we have a child? Or maybe you've been married once, twice, 3 times, had children by mistake. But now, yes, you found the love of your life. Because now, yes, you're mature and ready to have a child. You want to have another child. Because the other children were from relationships where there was no love. But now, yes, it's love. Now, yes, we're going to have an original child. As if the other children weren't original. So it's very difficult. The numbers don't add up. And people do it like this today. Not to mention people who leave home at 30, 35 years old, who are going to graduate, then they're going to get a postgraduate degree, then they're to purchase their flat, they're going to buy their house. Until they buy these things, acquire these things, then only after 30, 40 years, now it's time to have a child. Then, at that time, you can no longer have a child, because your child might be born with a disability. There's a high chance of that happening. Sometimes, no. They are born normal, very intelligent, healthy, but with some little issue that you'll have to take care of this person with a bit more specialty. Understand, it's hard to admit this, but I didn't come here to speak easy truths. It's the truth. Let's go. Then, you see, people don't want it, so they abort, right? To understand the Catholic Church, let's go to 1274 with Thomas Aquinas. And not just him, Augustine, both together preached that God only permits evil. Before it was, actually, Augustine, back in 400, and later, in 1200, Thomas Aquinas, both preached that God has no evil, nor does God. There is no evil, but he permits evil. Because, according to him, God brings good out of evil itself. People with disabilities are for the glory of God. So, why is someone born with a disability? So, see if it isn't the same spirit from the days of Jesus. Do you remember that in the days of Jesus, we saw here at this very university people asking why this person was born with this disability? Was it he who sinned, or was it his parents? Who remembers? So, this is the Pharisaic view of the religious system, which persists to this day. It's just that it doesn't have the same words, but it's there. I mean, if God is omnipresent, how can there be an absence of God? In God, there is no evil, so where there is evil, God is not present. So, God is not omnipresent. According to Catholic theological understanding, children do not inherit the sins of their parents, but they can suffer because of those sins. Isn't it the same thing? It is the same thing. You know, it goes around and ends up the same. Rabbis, on the other hand, claim that very elevated souls cannot have a body that matches the soul, the evolved spirit, so they are born in special bodies. It's because the soul is very elevated. It's beautiful, isn't it? But it's incoherent. It's inconceivable. What do we need to understand once and for all, good people of God? Let's talk very seriously here, right? You have to understand that if you look from a bit of a distance, not even asking you to fly very high, just fly from afar and see with me. Isn't every answer from every religion absolutely childish, just for the comfort of the unevolved? Yes, Professor, they are childish answers. Look, a very elevated soul. Then the body couldn't take it. My God, people. What sense? My God. And how many thousands of people cry and say, "Oh, Rabbi." This comforted me, consoled me, this gave the answer to my life. Answer? Seriously, that was an answer? It's a clear attempt to give what? Comfort to the faithful. Or to the faithful PCDS. Or family members. Some pastors will say it's a consequence, believe it or not, of Psalm 91, that it's the original sin, which we have already refuted here, the error of original sin, here in Lesson 61, not long ago. What a sadness, right? People? There are people who will pray and even anoint a mentally or physically disabled person, saying, "Heal Jesus, heal Jesus." And you know the faith helps a lot. Sometimes the person just limps. Then, after the prayer, they improve their steps a little, let go of the crutch a bit, and then go back to depending on it. And the healing is only at that moment, because of the mental effort they made to believe they could be healed. And they even started to see a little, started to walk a little, almost started to speak. And they say, they're healed, but then no one goes to their house to check if they're really healed 30 days later. Because in the days of Jesus, the person was healed forever. At that moment. And forever. Or they go to cast out demons from someone suffering an epileptic seizure, as I've witnessed several times. People having seizures right there in the church, and instead of treating them, they cast out demons. Sad. Lucia Carrara is saying something very serious, that there are also medical errors, cerebral palsy, all of that too. True. Others will say that the devil cured the disability, created forgiveness, or that these are consequences of man's sin. There are many people who say they don't accept it, right? God is good all the time. No, it was the devil who created the disability. I mean, these people have never read the original Job. And you don't even need the original Job, right? Because just reading any Job in any Bible makes it clear. Some spiritualists will work with iridologists. Have you ever been to an iridologist? Addressing karmic ancestry in your eyes. So, according to what's here, in the mapping of your eyes, I see a karmic ancestry. Unfortunately, you are paying for the mistake of such a person. Folks, this is the view of the Pharisees. I find it so interesting that spiritualists cite the Pharisees to combat Catholic and evangelical hypocrisy. It's beautiful. They get that right. But they don't realize they are like the Pharisees too, when they talk about karmic ancestry. That's Pharisee language. Chico Xavier was approached by a mother who wanted to understand, through Spiritism, the disabilities of her son, who was blind, deaf, mute, and without arms. And now, the doctors had said that they would also have to amputate his leg. She was very sad. She wrote to Chico Xavier and said, "Look at my son's situation." As if all his problems weren't enough, now he'll have to have his legs amputated. Do you have any answer for this? Because I'm losing faith in God. Do you know what Chico said, instructed by his spiritual guide? Actually, mother, your son has committed suicide in the last 10 incarnations, and now, in this life, he lost everything, his arms, and will still lose his legs, so he won't commit suicide again. And thus, learn to value life. And the mother cried, thanked, and said how beautiful, I've never seen such wisdom. That's why I am a spiritist for the rest of my life. It's sad, isn't it? Folks, I have a lot of love for spiritists. They are generally people of high caliber. Judges, magistrates are watching me now. High-level people, self-prosecutors, elegant. But folks, this doesn't make sense, for God's sake. In the Spiritist Review of 1860, Allan Kardec evokes the spirit of a young mentally disabled person, and in the interview, that indeed, and in the interview, it confirms that, indeed, the spirit of the teenager was aware that he was paying for his mistakes. I mean, it's easy, right? Psychography is proof. How can psychography be proof? How can an evocation or invocation be proof? It can't be proof. It's not proof in legal, criminal, or any law sense. Nowhere on earth will accept this as proof. It can't be proof. Oh, but it's faith. Well, I can also say here that spirits talk to me. And then, if a person can say that a spirit talks to them and they interview the spirit, they can say anything about that interview. And you have to believe it. Then you would have to believe anyone who says they've had contact with a spirit. And soon, you'll have to believe anyone who has alien contact on another planet and who had an extraterrestrial visit. And that the visit said this and the interview said that, you'll have to believe it. No, but hold on. When they said they talked to a civilization from another planet, I already didn't believe it. But it's not the same thing. Where's the standard of judgment? What I'm trying to say is that the evidence itself is weak. Kardec asked what he did in his past life to be born with a disability. And the spirit replied that he was a libertine young man during the time of Henry III. So, the abuse of mental faculties produced an anomaly in his perispirit. And in the next reincarnation, the child will pay for his adult mistakes. That is to say, in this case, he said that the abuse of mental faculties produced anomalies in his spirit, and that's why, in that reincarnation, the child was paying for his adult mistakes. People, for the love of God, let's be conscious. We love the spiritists, but see what great inconsistency you follow. So, how, after all, does coherence, truth, as we say, answer this very important question? How shall we go? First of all, the Creator is just and does not interfere. Who teaches this in the world? Tell me. God does not interfere. God did not choose anyone to be born with any disability, genetic anomaly, or mental problems. God did not choose, period. Second, He gave us the right to be the judge of our own lives. That's what free will is. Will, free will. But every dual choice at the forks, the YS, produces consequences. What choices am I talking about that produce consequences? See, everyone chose wives, girlfriends, with whom they would have sexual relations, and never did anyone have a relationship with God's interference to do or not to do. Right. Right? Has anyone ever had a sexual relationship in life where God interfered to make it happen or not happen? No. So, you are responsible for everything. I always say, to heal the world, 3 doors. Bible door, soul door, and semen door. Bible door to avoid wrong churches and religions. Weapon door to avoid wrong death and war. Semen door to avoid wrong children. Always, of course. Isn't that right? Yes, and there it is. There is. When did God interfere in someone's marriage? Oh, but in my church, yes, there was prophecy and they got married. In your church, 70% of the people who got married by the Holy Spirit's indication, revelation, and prophecy are separated. Answer me about your church, which is full of the Holy Spirit, where God speaks, speaks, and speaks. Every night God speaks. So answer me, how many single mothers and how many single fathers are there in your church? If the Holy Spirit really chose one for the other, then they want to compare the beauty of Abraham's text in the great desire sending him to carry out, seeking a wife for his son Isaac. Oh, Rebekah, Rebecca and Isaac involve the whole. They involve the creation of an entire nation. It involves the whole. Eretz and Aridim are Hebrew terms to say that it involved the whole. You cannot compare yourself to Rebecca and Isaac. Just like no rape was God, all actions are due to the ignorance or malice of men. Can you imagine saying that it was indeed God who guided me at the time because I got involved in this and that? Then you would have to say that God also guides rapes. How does that work? So, nothing that happens sexually, in fact, nothing that happens in any area of life, is God interfering. They are the choices of men. If God interferes, look, you might wonder, the professor starts with PCD and ends with animals. How? The connection is exactly that. You will see at the end, because notice that I'm starting the whole class talking about interference, interference, interference. You will understand. It's impressive. The Creator did not determine the day of your birth, much less your death. Nor did he choose how you would die, please. Imagine God now choosing this one will die without pain, and this one will die with pain. Is it like that? No. His omniscience cannot be confused with will. Look at this phrase. His omniscience cannot be confused with will. What is this, Professor? It's not because he knew that he desired it. Sometimes, a father knows that the child will suffer because he's a bit rebellious, because he doesn't listen, because he has an ego. He knows the child will go through years of suffering until he's hit the wall so many times and understands. But the father is not to blame for that. Is he to blame? Is he the one who caused the trouble in the child's life? Or is it just paternal knowledge? Maternal knowledge? Professor Zarzan, the professor often knows that the students will suffer. He knows that the students will suffer. But can he prevent that? He advises. He teaches. He exhorts. And when you have the maxim you learned in the last class that no one changes, why does the professor, knowing that no one changes, still go and try to exhort? The question, actually just to condemn him once more, because he won't listen. 3. 72 types of people are born from choices, human crossings. Humans who mix ethnicities, races, cultures, and, in many past generations, first cousin relationships. This is very important, you have to understand. And even relationships between siblings. For a long time, there were relationships between siblings, you know, including many relationships between siblings, which result in a child with problems. And they hide it their whole life out of shame and lie that the father is someone else, the mother is someone else. But the truth was it was a result of a relationship between siblings. See, this is God's will. You see? So it's not nature. Back then, Mr. Antonio, who was born all crooked and God made duality. Genesis 3 verse 15. And now everyone pays the price. This is something from the church. The church talks about original sin. Everyone is under sin. Everyone is messed up because of sin. No, then God. It would be unfair. We are free to make our choices and get it right, including even the hereditary curse. Because the hereditary curse is not mystical, it's organic. We can correct our mistakes and the mistakes of our parents. All of this can be corrected. Now take a look. What a wonderful and difficult thing to say. Wonderful because it is true. I was at the meeting in Brasilia, 2018. A lady sat with me. I don't know if she is watching me today. And she came to talk to me about all the difficulties she had with a daughter, PCD. And it was a very serious situation indeed. And I said to her, I thought, I'm not going to say this, you don't ask this, but I'm going to ask, because the statistics are very high, I'm going to ask. Are you married to a cousin? And I, quote unquote, trembled, right? I trembled. I didn't tremble. I don't tremble at all, but I trembled, quote unquote, and I kept thinking, here I go, about to apologize, right? But no, she said, I am married to a cousin. So you see, that's the problem, folks. We have to be careful with these things. And it's not just that. Well, you see, Then it comes, what a wonderful thing, right? I just taught you now. The lesson of the original Testament, the original Old Testament, the original Torah. The Bible talks about hygiene. What did the religious system do? Ritual purification. The Bible talks about hygiene, just hygiene. Hygiene, especially sexual hygiene. What did the church transform it into? Spiritual purification. And the same thing is here. Because, in truth, it's simply wrong choices of generations. They talk about curses, hereditary, mystical. And again, here, it's just choices. Just choices. What are people going to say? Original sin. You see that there's always a mystified answer for something that is the responsibility of a human being. If the responsibility were God's, if original sin really existed, if hereditary curses really existed, if all the things the churches say really existed, the sin of Eve, then there wouldn't be a white throne. Then God wouldn't even have the right to judge us. Because all the actions were his. So he would hold a trial, just him and Eve. It's all Eve's fault, isn't it? Because the blame is either his or Eve's, because it's certainly not ours. So, all of this is an example of exemption. This is the theological exclusion of personal responsibility. Churches, religions tend to exclude responsibility for one's own life. You've seen it every time in your own lives, you've seen this. When you became part of a religion, try to remember. Was it or wasn't it? Was that the first thing you learned? To outsource blame. And what do we see in the Garden of Eden, if not that? In the Garden of Eden, what's the first thing that happened? He said, it was the serpent. Adam said, it was Eve. The first thing ego does is not take responsibility for its own blame. And then whose judgment is it? So the judgment is on all of us. We are responsible for all our choices, and there it is. Whether by, look, pay attention, this is a paragraph. I'm talking about human crossing, ethnic mixing. There are several cases, right? Right. People who have severe cognitive disorders. Shall I speak now? Speak quickly.
Professor, one of the things that people sometimes come and question, due to a lack of understanding, a lack of information about what X is, what does X do? There is no greater work than what X does, which is what changes the world. Access to all this knowledge so as not to make mistakes anymore. And this can change generations. It can change the world through this, within politics, within health.
And someone will say, but Diado, there's no more time. Now it's over, the imminent apocalypse. But who says there's no more time now, that it's about to begin? Now comes our 7, our 8, all the kingdoms of Jesus, the transformation of all things. It's now that the wisdom is coming for people to stop making mistakes.
No, and those who are part of all this formation here, accessing all this wisdom, will be part of building a new world.
Did you know that I don't have a WEX reporter here, right? There's something that needs to be born at WEX, some reporters. It would be good for reporters to be born, right? Like William, his documentaries, Julio here, becoming reporters. Why am I talking? Reporters? It's time for people from X to do reporting. What reporting? You should investigate how many people from X are going to have 2, 3 children and then got to know X and decided not to have more children. The number of single people and couples who decided not to have children or just one. Julio is raising his hand. People who had the dream of having 2, 3, 4, 5 and filling the house. Why? Because life is sad. You seem to be. So, how? Often on the outside. In your photos, in your bio, it's there. Intensity, frequency, positive energy, vibrating, 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 up, 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 up. But inside you, it's depression. And to keep that depression from coming out, what do? You fill your house with children, which then brings joy. And they are all your little robots incarnated that you take and manipulate those children and make them be what you want. People think, this is the dream of my life. Do you know what the meaning of life is? The meaning of life is not to seek spirituality, to seek the meaning of things, to go to that so-called DX, not to that so-called DX. No, the meaning of life is to fill the house with children. But it is. If you look at what's happening out there, that's it. Today, young girls don't even have money to buy tampons, but they have money, but they want to have 3, 4, or 5 children. It's true. Today we are like this. Good people of God, look here. People who have severe cognitive disorders, severe mental faculties with serious schizophrenias, now I'm referring to severe, chronic, and psychiatric cases, will not be judged for what they did without understanding, but in the rare moments they showed or show some lucidity. Look at this. This is a great revelation of this class. You remember, attendees back then, today it's being redone here. How will people with disabilities be judged? So, there are various types of people with disabilities. Almost every disability has moments of lucidity. It is during those moments of lucidity that the person will be judged. Let's imagine that this person, because of their disability, lived only 30 or 40 years, usually dying earlier. If they died at 40 and only had 2 years of lucidity in their actions during those 2 years, that was their God's mathematics. And if they had no lucidity at all, look here, those who were truly born with mental dementia during their lives here in the biological crib right after death, look at this revelation, not in a reincarnation, but in a rehologramming, quantumly, with an adult spirit of 33 years, meaning, with a perfect psyche. That's what I am referring to. They will be able to make their choices and reveal themselves to the Creator, thus receiving immortality or non-existence, according to the revelation of their spiritual being. What will these people do while they were in life? They did not have, at any moment, the lucidity to choose. They were trapped in a body where they did not suffer. Also, because they were like a mind, a fragile memory of a child who has no recollection. Or, incognitive, like an animal. People with 100% dementia have no awareness. After they pass away, then their spirit, outside the body, will begin the process of reprogramming. And it is out there that they will reveal themselves, and the Creator will, in the second instance, judge them. In fact, even in the original Bible, there is the code, the moment I speak of. I don't know if you remember this. People are saying it was revealed, but this is already old. I am re-revealing it. It's just that you didn't study. That's why the importance of the X University. Today, of course, it's deeper, but what I'm talking about here is not new. Now here, look. Here in the Bible of Naucosio, which you have just for show, which you don't read, it's the same as the Catholic Bible. It's even worse because it would be better if you were Catholics. Because Catholics, with the Bible open to Psalm 90, or the Gospel to Psalm 91, at least they are not aware of the truth. Now UX, with a Bible like this one, inside a drawer or on top of a shelf, it's very serious. So here, you will find in Revelation a moment where I say that, in fact, the people who may enter the kingdom to be sifted in the third group of the kingdom are people of this case. I don't know if you remember this. Someone who had no cognition can reincarnate within, this is not spiritism, reincarnate within the kingdom so that in the kingdom it is revealed who they are. I mean, is this possible? Yes. God is not limited. God's mind is not small, like yours. Oh, that's spiritism. Who said the spirits are wrong? In everything? Are they wrong in what they base themselves on? Or came from that karmic reincarnationist view, from Hinduism, part of Buddhism, and even part of Judaism, because there is a part of Judaism that believes in reincarnation, and from Hinduism, which believes in the reincarnation of animals. I mean, a human being can reincarnate in the body of a cockroach. And this type of understanding was refined in Codex view. Kardec did not bring this reincarnation. So human. He brought only human reincarnation. But you saw, I just presented to you that it doesn't make sense, even so. So, when we talk about real affirmation, it's because we give the quantum tone of understanding. Because real affirmation and reincarnation differ. Because we are talking about spiritual bodies, but obviously, people are reincarnated. We have here the very clear case of Moses and Elijah, who will be reincarnated. How will they return? In a body that was preserved and will return to reincarnate. But was their body preserved for 3,000 years? Give me a break, right, brother? I don't know. What kind of formaldehyde is that, right? What celestial formaldehyde is that? So it's divine resin, right? Divine resin? The Creator's biological balance. Let's understand. Every lack of skill in some area is compensated through neuroplasticity, as we mentioned in the series The Mind, with special domains and abilities that others do not possess. One good thing about the PCD issue is this, right? Look at that. I am PCD and have been working at the Institute for 4 years. So, show this video there. Listen ho. All of you who work with children, PCD, with adults, PCD, show this video, this lesson. Maybe talk to the owner of the Institute to have it released. Maybe there won't be any reaction because it's Catholic. It's spiritual. It's that. But have him allow this video to be shown to everyone there. Look how interesting this paragraph here is. Let's start with the simple fact of who are the best musicians in the world, if not the left-handed ones. And is being left-handed some kind of anomaly? It's a small anomaly. To give you an idea, blue eyes are an anomaly. Some people say deficient and others say, oh, don't say that, oh, deficient. Guys, blue eyes and green eyes, it's a deficiency. It's a melanin deficiency, the original eye, that God made as the brown eye light or dark. A person born with light hair or eyes, of course, is recessive. Is it deficient? Today, it's considered exuberant. Green eyes are more striking than brown eyes. Look at how beautiful it is. See, the room is not full. You don't appreciate it. Why don't you enter the room with the microphone off? So, I have the wonder here of explaining. You might say, but professor, I'm just thinking up here. And what about autistic people? Aren't they incredibly intelligent? So there is a compensation. There is a compensation. Remember in the DiMaggio series, I talked about people who suffer a blow to the brain? Yes, or who later undergo surgery. The brain neuroplasticizes so much and adapts so much that you become really good. When I was in a wheelchair, I became a snooker champion here. I insisted. With my leg bleeding, I insisted on becoming a champion. Why? Because everything is adaptable. You will have to adapt. It's a reality. You have to accept that. And you have to neuroplasticize, period. And you end up developing specialties that. What does this cause? Why does a person with a disability here end up having compensation there? Why? Well, simply because the power is within us. It's us who don't want to. It's us who lack the motivation to exercise it. Because when the real need arises, then it appears, then it blossoms that we have the capability. But we always had the capability. We just don't do it because we're complacent. Then chaos has to come. An anomaly has to occur for you to appreciate and say, I can. But couldn't you before? You always could. You have to lose something from your body to appreciate and learn to use it? For heaven's sake, let's appreciate it today. Appearances, if the Creator chose David, the least apparent, to be king, and if he chose to be born himself in a body different from what was expected by the Jews 2,000 years ago, disappointing, because they wanted a Jew from Jerusalem, a Jew from the wealthy part of the Tetrarchy. All of this reveals what the Creator thinks about your judgment, precisely about appearances here in the books. Now I am talking about appearances. What is God's fair judgment on appearances? Here in this book, God does not take appearance into consideration. I am addressing this because suddenly there are people, PWDs, who are very well resolved, with a natural, healed self-esteem, who have accepted who they are and shine. I know a gentleman here in the south of Santa Catarina. It's here that he lives life, my brother, because this gentleman, he is never at home. He is always out on the street. I think the person who goes out the most is him, in a wheelchair, going here and there. No, I think he's the most well-known guy in town, because if he runs for office, he wins. Because he's in a wheelchair all day, going across the city, back and forth. So, I mean, this person accepted their situation and goes out happily and lives. Right? Then there are those people who get depressed about it and end up turning to drugs. And there are those people who even reveal themselves in the worst way. I met some wheelchair users who were murderers. I met a wheelchair user who, with a gun, killed her husband. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and other cases. I mean, why is that? Because there isn't. Oh, what a pity because it's a child. Oh, what a pity because there is no pity. A human being is a human being. The situation can happen from birth, or it can happen later. I can be born this way, or I can acquire it later. We always consider on the scale that the worst disability is the one acquired later. Like the great Elmery, who passed away, whom I interviewed. She, the university professor who hit her face on barbed wire and became blind afterward. It's sad, being born in one condition and assuming another reality. But she overcame it, was an exceptional university professor, and passed away with high self-esteem. Understand? The hypocrisy of humans. Society claims to love children and animals, but which of them would adopt a disabled baby or animal? I've already told you that I stopped at a place for donating pets. You're asking me how the professor will link PCD with the animal. There is. I stopped. In a giant aquarium full of animals. You look at the little animals through the glass, and you can go there to choose your pet. There are all kinds of little animals. And guess which animals were still there when I arrived? Only the disabled ones. The rest had all gone. Then people would come next to me, young couples, cute, well-dressed, with expensive sneakers. They would come and say, "This one here in the photo, that one's already gone. There are only these left, that's it." Professor, I don't see the problem with humans being unevolved and unable to do things. I see the problem with humans being hypocritical and calling that love. Call it anything, just don't call it love.
Say that. Obama has a program called Custodian. And they have animals that everyone would like to have, but they have disabilities. Missing a leg, missing a beak, a broken beak. Nobody wants those.
Guys, please, we are recording a class. Mary of Grace. I don't know if you asked that with good intentions or bad, but either way, I'll answer you. I didn't go there for adoption. I went there to visit. Actually, a couple took me there to visit. Now, for your information, the Reveler has a broken tail. And I had said in my heart that I was going to get a purebred cat, one of those so beautiful. More than Persian, it's a special cat. It was going to be expensive. I was going to place it in the window in Balneario, Cambodia, so that everyone would say, "What a cat," and only look at the school because of the cat. And it came into my life. It came with a broken tail. Then I looked at that broken tail and said, "There's something good about this. It's a signature. I'll never lose him. Only he has a tail broken like this. He's been making the L since he was little." But I don't know if it's like this, Bolsonaro, or if it's like this. Because his tail is an E, it depends on the moment of the scissors. It depends on the moment of the scissors, depends on the year. And I accepted the very special reveal. Look, let's go. Where is it? Continuing. The ego, which is the devil of the human being, is summarized in 3 points of observation. Here deserves a reveal. Reveal. What are the 3 points? First, spiritual acceptance, personal acceptance, and social acceptance. Spiritual acceptance is what Cain did not have. Cain was jealous of how much God liked Abel more. It's when people start to think that God likes someone else more. That's your diabolical ego. You start to think that someone is more blessed than you, that God looked out for someone more than he did for you. Is there anything worse than involving God in your mess? Personal acceptance, which is when a person has problems with themselves. It's usually low self-esteem. They don't accept themselves. Social acceptance. This affects everyone. The third one affects all of us. We are embarrassed to be corrected in public. Are we? Go and talk to a person, just you and him. One reaction. Talk to them with two people nearby. Another reaction. Talk to them. And a crowd. What? Happens a lot in churches. You're talking to the person and they have a certain tone. They get on the platform, grab the microphone, and are heard by 1,000. The tone changes. Down there it's, hi, how are you? Up there it's, oh good, morning good. Why does this happen? Social acceptance. That's nonsense. Here at X, don't laugh, because here at X the exact same thing happens. You are very good at school. At meetings, you are wonderful. Then, when you grab the microphone, nothing comes out anymore. Guys, from here on we're recording, turn on the camera, and no one can speak anymore. And why? It should be the same, with or without the camera. Do you know why you freeze up after turning on the camera? Ego. Social acceptance. It's your fear of social judgment. That's nonsense. I explain these three. I'm explaining now in the class. 65. It's because I have to write this down, because later, in the Bible, Augustine was wrong, Thomas Aquinas was wrong, with respect, but Chico Xavier and Allan Kardec were also wrong. So, am I the owner of the truth? Are we former owners of the truth? No, what are we seeking? Coherence in the originals, and we bring this in a sense, aletheia. What does aletheia mean? The truth. The word truth in Greek means sense. God is in the imperfections. There is no absence of God. God is more in irregularity than in anomaly, than in perfection to the eyes. Did you know that sexually, taking advantage of tomorrow's class 66 being about sex, get ready. In sexuality, chemistry doesn't get along well with plastic. You won't understand much. You'll understand soon. Repeat, please. It's because when you meet someone who is like a doll, a perfect doll, that person who has no flaws, actually, everyone has flaws, but it seems like they don't, you will fall apart. You will want to be next to that person because they are very beautiful, but you won't be able to have chemistry with them. Isn't it interesting? Very interesting. Why? Very beautiful people will never be loved. Because they don't produce chemistry, because chemistry is generated in irregularity. I'm not saying that ugliness creates chemistry. I'm saying that it's the irregular that attracts. It's so true that we know very well the difference between an artificial tree and a real tree. Isn't that right? Yes. Nothing compares to a natural tree. And why is the organic tree so much more beautiful than the artificial one? If the artificial one can be perfect. Exactly because it's perfect, it's not beautiful. It's made of plastic. The Creator allowed humans to make their choices, and their free and wrong choices often generated genetic anomalies in fruits, in animals, and in humans. It's something you have to understand that the deficiency is not in humanity. It's in the wrong choices of all things. Because many fruits we eat were made by man. The lemon, for example, was not made by God, it was made by man. The mutation of the orange. Is it good? It's good, but it wasn't made by God. The cherry tomato was not made by God. So what? God never made small tomatoes. God never made yellow bananas. And God never made strawberries. And God never made cherries. Orange carrots. So, we've already shown you all of this. And we'll talk about it again in sacred geometry. But that's not all. Man modified seeds, modified plants, created animals, created little fish to withstand high pressure, low atmospheric pressure, dirty water, full of poison, ammonia. It withstands. That generates more commerce. The little children are happy to have a little fish trapped in an aquarium that wasn't supposed to work. Because the smaller the aquarium, the more difficult it is. Some people say, oh, this aquarium is tiny, that one is big, that one is difficult. The big one, that's easy. The more water, the easier it is to take care of. The less water, the harder it is to take care of. So, what happens? Then they created a commercial fish. They created dogs for dogfights. They bred specific roosters, breeds, crossing them just for fighting, just to last longer. Chickens have their genetics changed to produce in less time. Eggs in less time, cows, milk in less time. These things, what are they? It's humans meddling. And they did this with everything. I'm just talking about deficiency here. In the general scope, for us to understand how much humans interfere. The point I'm bringing here is what? Humans interfere. Do you have someone who interferes in everything? It's humans. But no, the Creator didn't want, didn't wish, He allowed. His true final plan is in the prophet Isaiah 35, 2,700 years ago, said Isaiah. Isaiah, then the eyes of the blind will be opened, and the ears of the deaf will be unstopped. The lame will leap like a deer, and the tongue of the mute will sing for joy. Waters will burst forth in the wilderness, and streams in the desert, because the end of the duality of the sieve has come. Where is this written? Isaiah. And when will this be fulfilled? Now. It already begins with their Messiah, who will do everything to fulfill this here. Artificially, with plastic, and then, originally, with our Savior. I now connect to the other lesson, which is our love for the gypsies. Who knows someone? Gypsy on the street, in the house, in the family? Gypsy. Gypsy is the term in English, right? First, I want to say that I met many gypsies. I lived with gypsies. And I found out a few days ago that my great-grandmother, a pastor, was a gypsy. Because, besides being a pastor, she was a gypsy. Look at that. Before being a pastor. Many years ago, a gypsy had never been a gypsy, but the gypsy of mystical faith, before. Many years ago, when the gypsies arrived in town, mothers would rush to hide their children because it was dangerous. Just like in the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church spread rumors and lies about witches. Because there must have been someone somewhere who stole a child, as they even tried to steal me, which I mentioned in my biography, but then it creates that rumor. And then it generalizes a whole people. Century 11. They left India and migrated to ancient Persia. Is that it? Well, the gypsies didn't call themselves gypsies, just like the Indians didn't call themselves Indians. They were called Romanes. Write it down, Romanes. Because they were known by foreign names, different names in various places. I mean, what is it? Romans? Actually, it's the term foreigners, from the Bible. Romaine from Indo-European means man from outside. Look at this example. The word gypsy means man from outside, someone who is outside the system, not known, a foreigner. These nomads, almost always outside the social system, were also called giants because of the region of India. And in some places in America, they are called Jews of the Lost Tribe, especially in Minas Gerais, gypsies are often called Jews. The term gypsy, in English, actually has an earlier origin, meaning Egyptians. And I ask you, is it Indian or Egyptian? You see that when you go to GIPS, in English, the international word already comes from Egyptian. And now, is it Egyptian? But it's not, because of the nomadic tribes of Egypt. In France and Germany, they were called Bohemians. Bohemians, always associating these people with rebels, right? Isn't that what fans are? Have you ever been called that? If you've never been called that, you can be sure that one day they'll call you Bohemians. The Germans called them pagans, the French called them rebels. Look, they only have good titles, right? But the gypsies, although mystical, do not have a religion. Don't think they have a religion, nor a cult, nor a priest. Each one chooses their own religion. But I met a gypsy who was a fortune teller who had. They invoked the dove, Jira, or the other gypsy. There, he was Catholic, folks. Gypsies don't have one religion. He, the gypsy. The gypsy can choose a religion, but the fact of being a gypsy is not a religion. So one is born a gypsy with religion. One is born a gypsy ethnicity, which isn't even an ethnicity. In fact, it generated an ethnicity because these foreign peoples were having relations among themselves. The gypsy, he doesn't come with a label, right? Doesn't come with a label. Then the label is created later. To better understand this, let's go reveal it. From the Chaldeans of Iraq and Iran, they went to India. Then, yes, they arrived in India, Pakistan, places that followed Mazdism and Zoroastrianism. Do you remember that? Zoroastrianism, in the series Mocha, I taught you, which is dualism. That's why the Romani are so mystical, due to dualism. And then the evangelical makes fun, right? The son of Cain, these Romani, they need to surrender to Jesus. Today, there are many Romani who are evangelicals. And then they just swap the mysticism of dualism and Zoroastrianism for the same mysticism of the churches. What is dualism? It's believing in two forces, one positive and one negative, one of good and evil, that compete for your worship, your devotion. In the series of the 72 empires. Essential as a learning tool for any student who truly wants to graduate. At University X, Series 72 Empires, I teach about Chaldea, Ray Sumerians, the Mesopotamians, are Mesopotamians and, from you are of the Chaldeans. I mean, what is their real origin? After they went to India and Iraq, actually, their origin, Iran, is from Iraq. Today, Iraq was formerly Mesopotamia. This Sumerian and Mesopotamian region is their original region. In other words, guess where? Are we talking about? We are talking about the father of the Hebrews. We are talking about the land of Abraham and his father Terah. So, where did the gypsies really come from? From Abraham. Not from Abraham necessarily, but from the land of Abraham. More deeply, I will speak in the Bible. The moment has arrived. The gypsies believed in a second god called Bing. The first is devil, the second is Bing, the adversary. The energy is contrary and negative. So for them, Satan was a second god who contended with the first. The devil against Bing. I mean, see that we saw this in the series 72 Empires. It can be any tribe, any people, any ethnicity. Everyone has a vision of good and evil and of Trinity. Gypsies, from a young age, are taught about the meaning of the lines on the hands and passed down the techniques of palm reading from parents to children. So, tarot reading, palmistry, cartomancy. All of this is passed down with techniques from the class I taught. You now, physiognomy. They won't say, you won't find a gypsy who says physiognomy. You won't find it. If you go there and say, Professor Ackers said, you don't understand, he won't understand. But they learn as simply as a child who goes to an evangelical church and learns to speak in tongues. They learn from a very young age. The three lines of the hand. So, the money line, the sentimental lifeline, and the lifeline, which is the health line. I've already shown these techniques here. I've even read the palms of some people at gatherings. And if you don't know, I've even talked about the death of people who later actually died. It's true, 2 people died in 2019. I read someone's palm in 2019, in front of everyone. Chaldea is a witness to this, right? Katie? I think Emerson was there too, at that time, at a resort. And this person died later, got married and then died. I said, I saw a very serious health problem in your hand. You see, how does one get it right? It's because it's a matter of technique. So, there can be an unbanded gypsy, a Catholic gypsy, an evangelical gypsy, and a former gypsy. Do you understand? They also learn from ancient wisdom that passing a green branch over someone, while saying the right words, can relieve and even cure psychosomatic illnesses. Is it the green branch? No, there are various folk remedies. Will this cure chronic diseases? No, it's like the church's prayer. It won't solve it, but it's a remedy. They are placebos, charming ones, if I'm talking about folk remedies. It works because your faith saved you, not God. I mean, whenever Jesus healed someone, your faith saved you, if you believe too much in that. Now, is it the green branch? The green branch is just a point of contact reference for you to believe. But it only helps, it doesn't cure. Some Catholics judge the Gypsies, yet their church created Saint Sarah. Do you know Saint Sarah? Daughter of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. According to Dendrell, the Freemason Dendrell, from the Code of 20. In part, this is true. In part, this is false and conspiracy. It's true. Jesus, Mary Magdalene? In the originals, yes. It's true. That Jesus had a daughter? No. Obviously not. So, does Jesus have descendants? Then it swore the issue of the French kings, Merovingians, and so on, including this Notre Dame Cathedral is, because of that, Holy Grail and everything else. They even celebrate, together with the priests on May 24th and 25th, Saint Sarah's Day, if you didn't know. And Saint Sarah is actually the patron saint of the Romani people. It's interesting how Catholics, some Catholics, the shoulders of the Romani, have issues with the Romani, but they are together. However, look at the true story. The tribunal of the Catholic Church, which judged crimes against the faith, killed hundreds of thousands of Romani people. There are books that say the Catholic Church killed 500,000 Romani people, at least, as heretics in bonfires. Can you imagine? But was it only the Catholic Church? No, no. You will see now. Reveal.
F, then Mr. H. You know who he is, signed with triangles during the terrible times of the Holocaust, and they were marked with brown triangles. They placed a brown triangle on their clothes, and in this way they killed millions, if not at least 500,000 Roma, because they were considered Jews of the lost tribe. So, the Roma died at the hands of the Catholic Church in the millions, and also in the Holocaust. No one remembers, right? But the Holocaust killed homosexuals and Roma. And why do the Roma prosper so much? Because they know the dual Solomonic wisdom known to them, the same that enriches organized Jews. They are Jews against the system, from the outside, a lost tribe, foreign, nomadic. But today, not so much. Today, the Roma are more systematized. They've changed a lot like the indigenous people. Today they are part of the system. But, to tell you why they prosper so much, Solomonic wisdom, which is the wisdom I teach you, and then I ask, why haven't you prospered until now? What do you lose to the Roma? And you will lose to Bob Marley, because Bob Marley also accessed Solomonic wisdom. I'm going to connect it now. It's the same thing. However, most people, with all due respect, who are part of the Rastafarian movement and have dreads, are not prosperous. I ask you why? Because they lived a life more to the left. So, what do we need to understand? It's no use knowing Bob Marley, reggae, the beach, that spirit which is a lifestyle, but not knowing the God of Bob Marley, the wisdom of Bob Marley, because it's Bob Marley's wisdom that enriches. If you only listen to his music, you'll spend your whole life check, reggae, reggae, reggae. And you won't prosper. Same thing if you are a Roma on the left. The Roma on the left will spend their whole life mystifying, doing charms, putting things in gold, but they won't evolve. Do you understand? It's true, I have many students who are Roma. There's even a Roma student who came here. Aline Pagliazzi, I don't know if you remember, and he said he saw many spirits, right? Who has an impressive contact with spirits. He said, there's a spirit that manifested here inside the ship, Mother, that was on the same pool table. And it manifested, to me, not as a human, but as a cat. It was like this, it's there, laughter. My cat is there, it's around, soon. What is this? Each one you see, let's go, reveal. The first thing that Gypsy wisdom teaches is not to demonize money like the Jews. You demonize money there, others have reggae barley, if you keep it this. My son, 200, 300 cigarettes a month. I've already sung to you, right? And you can't be a chimney. God didn't make man to be a chimney. So, chimney, no. The head is the temple of the soul. It can't have smoke, otherwise it won't allow the right ideas. No type of narcotic, neither snuff, nor smoke, nor hallucinogen. Why? Because here is the temple of the soul. Your head has to flow to make the right choices in life. You can't take. There are a lot of people from the X who, Professor, I don't see any problem. There's even medicinal. No, 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 no. No, I don't have a delay. I don't have any difficulty understanding. Your classes. So, what happens? Too much smoke in the head. Did God call you for this? God didn't call you for this. So, don't demonize money. Have it, but don't get attached. Work united and help each other. Do they help each other or not? Do they help each other? Gypsies work united. Wrong. Isn't that the secret? Isn't that how God intervenes? Professor, but no one on earth can unite. You yourself said that. Nimrod, Babel, very rare moments. They were never united, never. And shall we remember when God intervened? When was it that God intervened and made the most beautiful things you've ever seen? Like the sea parting. When the people were united. But you yourself said that the people were not united. That 3 million died. Then, when it started taking a long time to reach the land, when water, bread, and food began to run out. But when they left Egypt, when they had everything, gold, food, within their strongholds, what happens? They were united. And in those days, when they were united, God did extraordinary things. But the Gypsies are not completely united. That's why they are not richer and more powerful. But just a little they manage from some almost full percentage of being united, they are a prosperous group. So that's how it should be. It should be the X. That's why I founded the I Want A church. Why? Because the philosophy is X. Because if we fight for unity and achieve some percentage, we will be able to have these results. Look, just never give up. Face all kinds of persecution together. Is the deficiency not linked to the gypsy? Professor, I'm not understanding. If I disable my left hand, won't I have to learn to manage with the right? And won't I gain compensation for that? Won't I end up doing with my right hand the work of the left? And won't my right hand become so good that it will do the work of both the left and the right together? Isn't it? Neuroplasticity. A single mother who doesn't have the father, will she or will she not learn to be both mother and father? She will. Won't she develop both things, ambidexterity? Educational ambidexterity. Same thing with the gypsy. The gypsy was assassinated as a mystical heretic by the Catholic Church, by Hitler, and is still persecuted today because everyone sees the gypsy as possessed. Not everyone, but many people. In other words, what does this kind of constantly persecuted life do? It creates anomalies. It creates deficiencies. The deficiency is not physical, it's mental, which is worse than physical. You are always being persecuted. You mentioned gypsy and people. What does this generate in you? Resilience, strengthening. So it generated such a great strength in the gypsies. Today, they are so strong, accustomed to facing this kind of persecution. And that's how the X should be.
We are not used to being called outsiders, rebels, this and that all the time. What should this generate in us over the years? Resilience, unity. While some religious leaders call the Gypsies the children of Cain, the Bible reveals them in Genesis 4:20 and 22. Read it there. And I conclude by quoting Leviticus 19, verses 33 and 34. This one I will read. When a foreigner resides in your land, do not mistreat them. When a resident gypsy lives with you, they shall be treated as a native of the land, as if they were one of you. Love them as yourself, for you were foreigners in Egypt. You were once gypsies there. I am the Lord, your creator. Look at this. This is God clearly stating what he thinks about the gypsies. Now I connect the lesson to Bob Marley, Rastafari, Dreads, lifestyle. Who likes reggae here? One of the major themes in his music was the fight against the domination of the white man, the religious figure who enslaved Africa and Latin countries. At that time, Jamaica was still a British colony, and it ceased to be a colony of England exactly during Bob Marley's days. Bob Marley was used by the lords of the world to bring about that moment of implosion. Do you remember that I taught in the series, Young Lady, that the goal was to remove autocrats, end colonies, monarchies, and bring democracy? So the husband drum was used by music to make a revolution. Does music make a revolution or not? Music makes a revolution. You know that the lords of the world use sports and music to stir up the people. Isn't that right or not? And that's what X is wisely doing now, using sports and music. In fact, they invited him to do a show to celebrate this, but they didn't have money. And this happened in '62. Courageous, his lyrics were true. Protests. He was well aware of social duality, as he was the son of an English white father and a Jamaican, Afro-descendant, black mother. I mean, synthesis, right? Marley, who couldn't stay long living in the United States, gained support from the Emperor of Ethiopia, who visited Jamaica with other African leaders. Remembering that Ethiopia is the land of Solomon, of the Queen of Sheba. Then came Haile Selassie. And who is he, the Messiah, African Jew from Ethiopia at the time? And Bob ended up becoming part of this philosophical and spiritual Rastafari movement of American and English Judeo-evangelical origin. It's interesting because he was leaving the system, but with a philosophy that comes from the system itself. And how does it happen today? Vegan girls defending Marx, who is Jewish from the system itself. The Freemasons dominated the Persian movement, who, to sign, Judaically let their hair grow. So why do they have dreads? It's a Jewish signature. Dreads, in fact, are a signature of the great sanction. There's even a photo of Bob doing delta with his hands. If you look now, you'll find the time he did it. His last LPs were really successful. I don't know if you can get that photo. Him doing the little delta, along with the lords of the world, who the offers actually made him successful. I'm not going to talk about Raul Seixas today, but I also have a video about Raul Seixas. If you want to watch, type on YouTube, Raul Seixas here. I tell the same story. The lords of the world made him the same thing. In fact, all of them, right? Madonna, all of them. Each dread spiritually connected like a part of the body, which is the time of Solomon. So what does dread mean in the Rastafari movement? People today wear dreadlocks, but they don't even know what it means. Dread is the connection of the tabernacle from the time of Solomon, the Sephirot, and the Kabbalah. Today, many young reggae lovers against the system, beachgoers or from other similar movements, act this way, sing, play, follow this lifestyle without knowing its origin. What should you do? Go there as a good ex, teach the gypsies, teach today's Rastafarians their true origins. And I'm not telling you to do this just for the Rastafarians and show it to the 65 only. It's not just on the beach that you're going to put it in that restaurant in front of the sea, right? You know that restaurant that sells shrimp? Put the video there. Everyone watch lesson 65. The people that are listening to a little reggae, it's there. Even if lesson 65 is going to play. It's not just at the Institute for PCDS for the Disabled. It's not just at the clinic. It's not just. It is. Soon I'll talk about the animals at the Animal Protection NGO, but I'm talking to you about any type of minority. Tomorrow we will talk about lesbians, who are no longer a minority, but it's the understanding you should have to support people, to understand people. In the beginning, when we start a relationship with someone different, what do? We tolerate. I use the verb tolerate. There's no other way, right? You don't understand yet, you tolerate. You don't judge, you tolerate. Then later, you understand to truly have social acceptance. Look at the little delta he makes with his hand. I didn't know this photo. It's another one still. He's with all the people at the LP doing this, but he always made this little delta signature. Why does he have this little delta? Why? Signed or not? Now, do the reggae people know about this? They don't know. In the music class, signed by the creator, you learn that reggae is also signed because the movement is dual. From the guitar pick going from bottom to top. The word reggae has meaning. The pick that goes down is the pick that goes up. That is, this movement, always playing the same thing, vertically down and up, is what reggae means. Bob died, unfortunately, very early because of the religious dogmatism of strictly following the Torah. He was a legalist. That's how he was taught. And by denying medicine and surgery from the system, as he needed to have his foot amputated, a simple foot injury from playing soccer led to such a severe infection, cancer, which even spread to his brain, infection and his consequent death. Regrettable, isn't it? He died very young. Before he died, he said, "Now I know that Jesus Christ is the Messiah." 3 times he signed because of the pyramid. And he also said, "Call me by my new name, Baran Selassie," which is what? Pyramid of light. Look how beautiful, signed or not. Very, very beautiful, isn't it? Before dying. Finally, I connect the last lesson. Idolatry, or love for animals. So, are you ready to heal yourself? Before anything else, I want to say that I am a plant dad. I am a dad to 3 turtles. I am a dad to 30 fish. I am a dad to a cat. And a robot dog just arrived. And I almost became a dad to a little monkey. If one day I reveal that he passed away, because he must pass away, since he is from 2019 and is 5 years old. He should live until 2030, 1933, 1935. If he passes away in the middle of the GT, I already have my plans to replace him. Then someone says, "My God, what kind of love is this, Professor?" This is the realization of life, my son. You do. You don't do. Realization of life. The only thing we can do for the person, the little being, the pet, is to ensure they live well. Today, they have all the affection. Understood? There's no point in being like, "Oh, I don't even want to think about it. Don't talk about it. Don't mention it." There's no such thing. Death exists just as much as birth does. Accept birth and accept death. Every Christmas has Easter. Every Easter has Christmas. Many years ago, I revealed to you that the Creator does not interfere to favor anyone, but only in 2 just cases. However, he will interfere again after the GT, or rather, during the GT, in the GT. It should be placed herein, right? In the GT, and in his kingdom, 7. Today I will bring to light something I have never revealed. Are you ready? Yes. I will bring a revelation at the end of this lesson 65, which is one of those things that will make history, that you will never forget. Wow. I hope it's not, because usually, when you bring the biggest revelation at the end, people forget everything else. But when you say, "Let's resonate," what do you remember from the lesson? 65? I remember that incredible revelation. Don't do that. Don't do that. Even though the wine was the best at the end, remember the other wines. The Creator used animals throughout history. He used a ram in Genesis 22 verses 13 to 14, making its horns get caught in a bush so that Abraham could take the ram and use it instead of his son. He used a whale in Jonah 1 verse 17 and 3:3, swallowing Jonah so that he would obey the command to go to Nineveh. And before you open your mouth to say it was a big fish, it was Jesus who said it was a whale. And before you doubt that it was a whale, like those false preachers who say that only sardines can fit in a whale's mouth, go on Google right now and type man swallowed by whale. He was swallowed just recently in the southern United States out at sea. He was swallowed, and he tells his story. It was on worldwide television.
Another Jonah, huh?
It's another Jonas. And 2 bears in 2 Kings 2:23-24 sent to attack 42 rebellious boys. We saw that, right? 2 bears that mocked his prophet. I mean, did God incarnate himself in the bears? Or did he? Did he hack the bears' system, their minds? Or did he send a demon to enter them? Because you remember that the demons entered the pigs, didn't they? Didn't they control the pigs' heads? Weren't they hasty? So it doesn't really matter. Actually, spirit, yeah. Spirit and software are the same thing. Professor, are you comparing software, a code, to a spirit? Yeah, virtuality and spirituality go hand in hand. The difference is that our little internet here, our matrix-like code system, is really advanced. God's is so spiritual, so advanced, that it works in this perfect way. That leaves us amazed, saying, such power, how divine. Everything we see that is far below is divine. I don't know if you realize this, but have you ever imagined what your pets must think about you? They don't have consciousness, but with a little bit of cognition they do have. What do you think a pet thinks when it looks at a human? It's a god. There goes my God coming, right? Because we are so many light years ahead in technology compared to the little animal, right? Frogs, lice, flies, locusts, and the plagues of Exodus 8. A donkey spoke to Balaam, who was full of ego, in Numbers 22:22, didn't it? He was full of ego. Then the spirit entered the donkey's mouth, and it spoke to him in Hebrew. Quails and ravens were sent to be food and to bring bread and meat to the prophets. Quails to actually be the food themselves, and ravens to bring food. Yeah, the raven is an incredibly intelligent little creature, huh? I would really love to meet someone who has a raven at home. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. If one day, you know, an ex of mine adopts a raven, please send me a picture, because it's an animal I'd love to have. But I can't, because of my biological situation here, my ecosystem. But just so you know, if you don't already, the raven is one of the most intelligent animals in the world. Amazingly, it's way smarter than a parrot. People only remember parrots because it's a status thing, but cockatiels and parrots. Forget about cockatiels and parrots, and go conquer yourself, that lying ego of yours that says you love animals. Oh, it's easy to love a cockatiel, they're cute. Get the crow. Get the crow.
None. Want it.
I think ravens are gorgeous, but some people don't, because they think cute means colorful. Oh, colorful. Cockatiels are colorful, yellow, blue, blah, blah, blah. But look here, look how beautiful this is. A lion with its mouth open to kill a prophet full of Edo in 1 Kings 13. And then with its mouth closed in Daniel 6 to keep them from killing the wise Daniel. I mean, God used it both ways. What was the command given to the animal? Open your mouth and eat. And what was the command given to the animal? Close your mouth and don't eat. So, the lion was used as an instrument. That's how it was. There were fish. Wait, that's wrong here. There were fish. With Jesus, roosters, birds, doves, ravens, horses, insects, and even plants. And let's remember the matter of the fish, because, he said, go there, Peter, and fish. And the fish came up right away. I mean, look at the command he gave. A school of fish, 153, big ones, not small, large fish in the Sea of Tiberias. 153, come to the net.
My God.
Do they obey or not? Animals obey, dichotomously. But humans do not obey. Why is that? Because humans are trichotomous. The blood of the animal is its soul. Not man, though. Man has a psyche, has rationality. But why? Here comes the moment of revelation. Get ready, because this is the big reveal. Let's go. God does not interfere, because if he interferes, he stops being a judge. He gave us free will, so you are the arbiter. Arbiter means judge. I am the judge of my own life, so that he can settle accounts with me, with the freedom he gave me at the end. So your whole life, you've been saying, Lord, my God, Our Lady of Aparecida, Jesus, God, Holy Spirit, go into that person's heart and bring them to me. Soften their heart. Make them hire me. Make the car sell. Make the house get bought. Make the price go down. Make them marry me. Make them forgive me. Go into their heart and make them forgive me. Your whole life you've done this, and God never answered. Why? You even complained and said, but why, God? There's no way, because it would interfere with the other person's free will. So we even see this in a playful way in the movie Bruce Almighty, right?
Yes.
Who here has watched Bruce Almighty? In a playful way, it shows that God, in that heavenly stand-up, because I accidentally did the infernal stand-up that day, and Jim Carrey did the heavenly stand-up. What is the heavenly stand-up? A God with a desk, papers piling up, prayers, faxes coming in all the time, emails. And how is he supposed to answer everyone? Moving from the binary standard to the heavenly standard, since God is omnipotent, he doesn't need a desk or paper or email. But even with all kinds of prayers from you reaching him all the time, and him being able to process all of it at once, he still can't answer you. But how come if he has all the power? Because what you're asking for involves someone else's free will. It involves the other person's free will.
And
If God goes there and invades someone else's freedom, he's violating his entire creation. You'll see this more clearly in the last class, number 72, which is the big class called the precision of creation. Why does creation work the way it does? And what big revelation does this have about animals that I don't already know? Listen closely. I'm going to say something profound here that's going to leave you stunned for a long time. I hope you can sleep tonight. Even though God can't interfere with human free will, God can interfere with the free will of animals because it doesn't violate the principle of justice. You weren't expecting that, were you?
no.
Do you know what that means? It means that God can't go into someone else's mouth, brain, heart, or soul for you. It cannot. But he can go into an animal. Professor, now that I, Professor, so what? Are you saying that I can just say, little bird, go to that person's house, show up at their window? No, that's not it. Because if you do that, you're also interfering with the other person's free will through a mystical sign, since if the person sees the bird at the window, you're interfering with their freedom, because it's something that's buying their faith in something. It's a miraculous sign that would buy their faith in favor of your own privilege. What I'm saying is that if you pay more attention to animals, which are pieces of God, there are signs of God in them. And I'm not talking about any of that mystical, idolatry stuff, like my little pet talks to me, or it happened. Someone came into the house and my pet sensed something bad. That's not what I'm talking about at all. You can misunderstand as much as you want. You can twist my words however you like, to your own deception. You're going to go back to lesson 65. Watch the teacher here speaking very slowly. You're going to transcribe. Transcribe word for word. You'll notice, pay attention. You'll be corrected by a student better than you. You'll be corrected by a teacher who will rewind the video right in front of your eyes and say, that's not what Acqui said. What I'm telling you is, pay more attention to animals. If you have a connection with the nature of animals, you'll notice that, not just animals, but plants too. God can intervene through them for something in your favor, but not in a way that interferes with someone else's free will. If it involves another person, forget it. Nature won't help you, because nature is fair. Because when we used to ask God a lot to do something for us, back when we were more mystical, and we asked for something, that INFL involved someone else. Almost everything we ask for involves someone else. What would happen to us? Nothing would happen regarding the other person. And if something did happen, it was just a coincidence. It didn't last. It will never happen in relation to the other person, but it happens without you noticing, and then you realize it, or maybe you never realized it, and you're only noticing it today. The answer to the prayer is immediate within you. You grow. And you grow in such a way that you gain the spiritual strength to forget about it. Notice that your whole life, now I'm talking about prayer, your whole life you've said, Lord, I really need you to solve the Maria situation, the Joao situation. It involves another person. And when you did that, Maria couldn't be interfered with, nor could Joao. But you grew, and the Maria situation was resolved within you. And what was once so painful about Maria isn't anymore, because the Maria situation has passed, and you are strong when it comes to Maria. Do you get it or not? Don't you realize that God's answer can never be about the other person, but it can be about you? And everything you ask God for here, we don't even say it, because there's no reason to say it. God is quantum. But just by us wishing something for someone else, God can't do it. But when we wish for something that's meant for someone else, it ends up happening to us. From our point of view, from our perception, from our own person, right here we ourselves, we grow. And the answer to the prayer is immediate and meaningful for us. For us, for ourselves. And within all this, where do animals fit in? Animals are here and there. The only thing I can tell you is, animals cannot interfere with what you think. Again, don't make the same mistake of using the animal as, well, your tool for privilege. The animal is not your tool for privilege over someone else. If it involves someone else, involves their heart, freedom, decision, or free will, forget it. You're talking nonsense. You're being childish. You're being childish. But animals, yes, can be divine signs for us when it comes to ourselves. Because God is very present in the animal realm. So look, what I showed you here is amazing. But how many times has God used animals? Throughout history? If you take a broad, zoological look, you'll be surprised. Because animals exist and because they are so close to us. But I repeat, don't make the mistake of thinking that animals are specially on your side. For themselves, in other words, everything God created contributes to your growth. It's for you. For you to pass the test, for you to become wiser, for you to evolve, for you. So if everything you want and desire is for yourself, for your own personal, individual growth, it will happen. It can happen. Even supernaturally for you. If it's for you, it can. If it's for someone else, no. Someone else, everyone, has to seek their own growth. Do you understand? Animals are undeveloped human beings. Remember that. Do you remember that? Undeveloped human beings. Animals are undeveloped parts of God meant to help humans in their trials. Animals should not be idolized or valued more than humans, because that shows a reactionary attitude that needs to be healed. So, like that lady who just wrote to me saying, I love animals more and more. And I'm disappointed with the schools of Jesus, with Christians, and I've completely left the church. Now I'm a nihilist. I'm stuck. I only believe in God directly and in animals. So, who do undeveloped people get along with? With plants, with animals, with elderly people, with children, because children are still there. You have control over them. The elderly person, maybe, depending on the elderly person, you have control over them too. But if it's one of those stubborn, active seniors, who make their own decisions, who are set in their ways, then you won't like them. I don't like that grandfather. I don't like that great-grandmother. I don't like that old man in my life because that. So you see, the problem is with you. It's that you can't get along well with people who are between 15 and 50, 60 years old. Usually from 12 to 60, which is the age range where people think rationally and make decisions. And the thoughts of these people are offensive to you because you haven't evolved. So I'm a plant parent. I love plants, but hold on. A plant is an evolved mineral. And I also have minerals at home. An animal is an evolved plant. The care we give to animals is greater than to a plant because they're more evolved, because their code is open. Do you know what open code is? I bought a robot dog. It just arrived. It's on the table over there. I haven't set it up yet, haven't turned it on. This robot dog has closed code, which gets updated. There's a cost to open up that code, and then you can write the code and teach this robot dog to do whatever you want. But there's a cost. But for now, you can only do with it what's included in the updates they provide. Your phone is the same way. When you look at your phone, it only comes with what was installed at the factory. If you want to do more than that, you'll have to unlock it. You'll need to have programming code. I don't know if you know this, but if you go to Google right now and type in programming code secrets on your phone, type it just like that on Google and try it out. Do some tests. There are certain taps you can do on the screen that open up menus you never even imagined existed. It goes deep into the guts of your phone. What I'm trying to say is that we pay more attention to a little animal because its code is more open than a plant's. The cricket is a flying, jumping plant. Isn't that right? Now, a human being is an evolved animal. So don't go around saying you only love animals and don't love humans. That's just being reactionary. I get you. I have empathy for you. I care about you. You just got here. You're probably a student. You need to empty your cup. Learn with humility. Overcome this. Heal yourself. You can't generalize. There are a lot of good people out there. Now, understand one thing. Why do I need to heal myself? And I'm not going to die loving only animals. In Gramadoo, there are luxury beds for dogs, and here too. A bed costs 5,000 reis. The other day, we went out with the girls, and there was a hotel and daycare for animals. Here, there are all kinds of luxury daycares. I told the girls, there's nothing wrong with having a daycare or a golden bed for a cat. What do you mean, Professor Accio? There wouldn't be a problem if all the children had it too. If all the children in the world had it, then you can take care of the kittens and puppies. There's no problem, but there's an order. In the divine ecosystem, there's an order to things. I can't give a golden bed to a rock if I'm not going to give one to a plant. I can't give a golden bed to a plant if I'm not going to give one to an animal. I can't give a golden bed to an animal if I can't give one to a human being. There's an order. And why is everything upside down today, posting and peeing on the dog? They post and pee on the dog because people are hurt, reactive. We come from decades of machismo. We come from decades of misogyny. We come from decades of homophobia. We come from decades of stubborn, closed off, European, legalistic, dogmatic, rebellious people. And that's what it led to. Now, do we need to heal or not? We need to heal and give animals their proper value. But animals are divine instruments for us. I repeat, they are divine instruments. God speaks through them. God speaks through them. Nowadays, there's a reactionary movement among generations born after the year 2000 against cruelty and mistreatment of animals. Isn't that right? Everyone speaks the same language. NGOs are profiting opportunistically from the topic, riding this wave. Riding this wave. Luxury hotels and hospitals for animals, going back to what times? Babylonian and Egyptian times, right. You know that. In the times of the Egyptians and Babylonians, animals were gods. In part, veganism is tied to this because of the universal scissors max and max, which will end by 2033. Here, you're already getting your lesson, a prophecy. And what is the max and max scissors? You'll find out because the young people of these generations, ZA and B, that is, Generation Z, Alpha, and Beta, will be re-educated about Israel. Here's another prophecy. If you have a problem with this today, maybe you don't like the God of the Bible, because the God of the Bible mistreats animals. But I'm telling you, the God of the Bible I'm presenting to you now is actually the opposite. It's the God of men who kills, steals, and destroys. But you think you're free, that you've broken out of this system. You think you're a gypsy in this system, that you're outside of it. You think you're Rastafari. But soon, young people will be eating artificial meat from Jewish printers and will never again suffer from knowing where their food came from. Why? Because the fixing of things is coming. I just said it, you will be re-educated. All of this is a sign of the coming kingdom, because it has always been the Creator's original will for animals and plants. Everything will be restored. We saw in Genesis that in the beginning, God wanted people to eat everything except other animals. Not even animals would eat other animals. There was no such thing as a carnivorous animal. It didn't exist. Then came the origin of compulsory, unjust duality, because there is no trial without injustice. Every trial is unjust. But Professor, this life is so terrible. This sleep, this dream. It's like we're asleep. When you wake up, it will have been just a nightmare. And their Messiah's government will come first. And their Messiah's government first will be Elijah the Baptist. Why did I say Elijah the Baptist? Because, actually, I don't know if you've ever seen it this way, but eschatologically speaking, their Messiah is a Messiah who, for us, is like an Elijah the Baptist. Theirs comes first. Isn't that what Paul said in Thessalonica? It's necessary that theirs comes first. So, first comes their Elijah, who is their Messiah, doing pretty much what Jesus will do. And isn't that what John the Baptist did for Jesus? Wasn't that what Elijah did for Moses? I mean, Elijah didn't prepare the way for Moses, but the idea is prophets and the law. However, only our true Messiah will be able to bring about complete restoration. What's coming will bring restoration. We could call it a pseudo-restoration, a partial restoration. But Jesus, the Christ, will bring complete restoration. What is a 3D printer? Meat made from cells. The end. Of animal mistreatment, animal cruelty, and all that. What is that? That's wonderful. It's beautiful. However, folks, it's not complete restoration. It's going to fall short. Complete restoration is Jesus, the Christ, who comes right after. So today we did this study about minorities, going through all of this, but there's a lot more. If you wanted, you could go even deeper by checking out Raul Seixas's lessons to understand even more. And it doesn't matter which groups we haven't talked about yet. For example, hippies, rock and roll, lesbians, we'll cover that in lesson 66. Any kind of minority is included. This is the holistic view with justice, where we see the whole picture. I hope you pay attention to all of my teachings as a whole, so you don't go around taking things out of context. There's no one being swept away here. Here, it's all about Mars.